Back in the Game Dealer Talk episode 2 with the homie Cris. We're gonna pick up where we left off last time with the topic of conditional rarity. So we're just gonna give some tips to help you make better financial decisions as you're out and about hunting for games, and maybe you see that real nice completed box Zelda game. Seems like a very friendly price, but you're looking for a good deal. Condition is just flawless though. It's certain times where you might want to jump on something. You might want to pay retail for something.
Yeah, quote unquote retail.
Price charted value for something, and you're getting a smoking deal if the condition is top notch. If it's one of those things that is conditionally rare, that is the title. It's conditional rare.
Excited for this topic.
So Cris is the coin guy. Cris actually just informed me before we started this video that I wasn't aware this conditional rarity is an old school term.
Yeah, I had every time you said it, I was just like, oh yeah, he knows about the term.
Yeah, I think I was just vibing with you. You might have said it first, and I'm just like, well, that's what I guess it would be called, right? If it's a common game.
In a rare state of rare form.
Sonic 3. Common Sega Genesis game, but how about in the condition of factory sealed?
Factory sealed.
It's pretty rare, doesn't it?
And then on other games, I know the lingo we love to throw around is like seal removed. That's kind of like
when it's 100% complete.
100% complete and
super primo condition.
Especially a useful term on games that are pretty rare sealed, like really big jump in value when they're factory sealed, and since they're so hard to find sealed, when you get them in that basically like seal removed quality, it's like that should be much more valuable than like an average copy.
Absolutely, like you're approaching kind of like a sealed value. That's all. Yeah, there's a lot of times where you might see the cheapest guy on eBay wants $400 for this sealed game, complete in box. It's typically $200. Yeah, an average rough around the edges condition. When you have that copy that is just so primo, you really can get 90% of that sealed value.
Really close to a really ugly seal.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
No, dude, I've had situations where ugly seal is inferior to minty CIB.
In certain situations, yeah.
What comes to mind is a Pocky and Rocky with Becky GBA. One time I had a crushed sealed copy. So he traded me a minty CIB because he wanted it sealed. I was like, "We'll do."
That's a big mistake there.
It just made it easier for me to sell, of course.
On GBA, that's a whole other kind of micro topic, but you can have ugly factory sealed games. I see it a lot on like Genesis cardboard box sealed games. And it's like, dude, that box is crushed. Same with like Atari stuff. It's like
that's the downfall of cardboard. That's part of and you know what? You gotta embrace it too as a video game collector. It's obviously it sucks to get into complete in box collecting on a system that only put out cardboard box types, but it definitely makes it that much more cherishable when you find that real minty cardboard copy, cardboard box. Zeldas on NES when they're just primo shaped. It's quite a treat to own. So yeah, definition of conditional rarity. I think we about covered it. It's when it's rare in certain conditions. Obviously, higher end conditions.
Yeah.
If something's rare to be found rough, well, you can create that condition.
Yeah. Basically, even on games that are already rare, there's certain stuff where it's like, whoa, this game factory sealed, man. Like, doesn't surface much, so that's a conditional rarity. But again, even for non-factory sealed games, I mean, for some of your like really popular games, like I guess Streets 3 is kind of a good example. Not necessarily a common game, but like got played a lot.
You're talking about Streets of Rage 3.
Streets of Rage 3. Yeah.
And you're talking about because you have a sealed copy.
I do. But like, I mean, those really popular games that got played a lot, really handed around.
Well, I'll get into talking about this because like another example, of course, would be rental exclusives, just like that.
Yeah.
Like those are going to be inherently conditionally rare.
Yeah. Basically, just the point of like conditional rarity doesn't only apply to sealed games.
Yeah, absolutely. My first talking point was sealed. You want to expand upon that at all?
I think it's a great place to start.
Sealed games. You know what? I got a good thought on that, on sealed. You know, a type of game that really, although this is kind of deviating from conditional rarities, talking about conditional value, but when a game goes from CIB value, takes a huge leap when it's sealed. It's typically in the realm of your most collectible IPs.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just goes along with the secret formula, the value formula.
Right. I mean, you got and I guess to talk about that, Chris and I have this. It's almost like a joke between us.
That's a little inside lingo.
It's like you could almost code. You could almost program with all the variables that a game has. You could almost like write a script
master formula
that outputs value on how much a game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it goes. We've talked.
That's gonna be a whole other video.
Just over a few beers, it's just like, man, you know what? Shelf appeal's a factor. It's like it is, man.
Yeah.
Like some games had all the factors to be super collectible, except it had a garbage publisher and a terrible front cover.
Terrible cover.
And that just made it take longer for eventually Metal Jesus Hidden Gem. It's like inevitably it's got enough of that formula there to be valuable, collectible. It's rare, it's cool, it's a great game, but no shelf appeal, no beacon to collect me, and it's gonna be tough. So yeah, that would be my takeaway with sealed conditional rarity. You got that Shining Force, or I've got Shining Force 2 sealed on Genesis. That's definitely one where every now and then I'll check eBay to see if there's been one that's popped up or sold, and it's maybe once every year or two, and certainly not going to be nice because that's a cardboard box.
Yeah, you've got the possibility of it being crushed.
I've seen that before, so I got the nicest one I've ever seen for years.
And that brings me up to, maybe later we'll expand on this, but a nice little subtopic of like, which would you prefer, sealed crushed or really minty not sealed? And I mean, I think a lot of people.
I always go not sealed.
Yep.
I want that.
Absolutely.
I want everything to be as it was intended when it was first printed, and I can live without cellophane. Just like most collectors, sealed collecting is so niche.
It's a special thing. I mean, I understand it coming from coins, I guess.
I mean, imagine a scenario like you got your Zelda collecting scene, and so of course, so many people have every single Zelda game that's ever come out, all CIB. Then you got somebody that's like, I can trump you. I got every single Zelda game, CIB, that ever came out on all regions, globally. Then you get that psycho that wants them all sealed. And there's probably more than one person out there in the world that has every single Zelda piece to be collected.
Yeah. There's probably someone that has them all VGA graded too.
Blah. And it's just, that's how collecting goes. But like, you're going to more likely find that in the realm of Zelda than the series TAC. Or I could name something stupid.
It's
gotta be cool. It's gotta be epic.
Stuff with mass understanding and mass appeal. That gets that kind of attraction.
That's your sealed takeaway, sealed rarity. And if it's anything else, if it's somebody's like, I got Street Combat on SNES, Dave, sealed.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Yep.
But
exactly. There's certain
but
stuff
Dave, it hasn't surfaced in 10 years.
Doesn't matter. The formula just spits out. Don't care.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put much money into that because I'm gonna have to be that guy that's trying to convince somebody that it's cool.
Yeah.
After I have
we don't want to have to put that.
Because it's not cool.
If you gotta put in effort, if you gotta try to sell it, that's not.
That's right. These things should sell themselves. If you're a smart collector, smart dealer, like you're only taking in that stuff that sells itself. Or what am I saying? You're a collector, man. Collect from your heart. I mean that. Like I collect too. I got my own stuff that I collect, and some of it's kind of weird, stupid stuff. I collect chess games. They're common too. Charted value abuse. I don't have to go in order here, but I might as well because otherwise I'm kind of tired right now. It's hard to flow.
Might miss something.
Yeah. So
charted value abuse, not factoring in condition for.
That's what I was. That was a cryptic topic that I was going for. And on the topic of conditional rarity, you'll find that charted values don't apply. Generally, charted values don't apply at all to cardboard type complete in box games. They don't apply to games that even clamshell type, such as Genesis Master System. Um, your charted values when you see a complete in box charted price, very foolish to go off of that.
I mean, it's horrible because also you've got other stuff where it's like, well, how complete was it? Like, was it 100% complete with like matching reg card that says like Rolling Thunder 3 on it, or was it like manual box game? And were all the components legit? There's something there.
Yep.
And then of course, obviously, condition. Is it a crush box? Especially when you get into like sealed price charting, it's like, is that a crush box?
I'll tell you, like, just today I was pricing Shadowrun on Sega Genesis, and there's one ending auction style, and it's got the word complete in the title. No doubt in my mind it's going to show up as an averaging factor in price charting after it sells. It's only at like $17 plus shipping, and it's not going to sell for very much at all because looks great on the outside too. Like, it's clickbait, but you see the picture of it opened up, and the manual is destroyed, and like, so that's not a complete copy, and that's just one of those games that like is pretty damn collectible when it's a nice complete copy. But in this kind of condition, man, like, just goes down to that, like, it's gameplay demand. It's gonna satisfy a gamer, not a collector, and we're talking big value difference there, especially at auction. Like, we're gonna see what it goes for, but I'll bet
it's not gonna be pretty.
And then that affects price charted values in a negative way, and I mean, we're calling it charted value abuse, but you could look at it as charted value opportunity. See people on Facebook groups that using 80% price charting. It's
I mean, it's like awesome, dude, on CIB Genesis.
It's like if their stuff is nice. That's
any day.
Imagine if they're price charted values and you see just a bunch of NES, SNES, gorgeous CIBs. They are shooting themselves in the foot big time, and it's just a fact, man. Like, sorry, man. Like, somebody's gonna come by, scoop that up, and just flip it on eBay.
Yeah,
so.
I got a really good example actually.
Yeah.
A game I've sold a few times CIB and recently. I think it was like last year. It really started to spike for some reason. Castlevania Bloodlines on Genesis. I sold 3 different ones, and the last one that I sold, I bought it locally at a game store for $175. And a lot of collectors, I'm sure of it, a lot of collectors in the community would be like, dude, that's like full retail. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, definitely, man.
And I was just like, this is the mintiest one I've ever seen. And I mean, this game, Clamshell Bloodlines, we're not talking about like the Majesco re-release. That game is really hard to find factory sealed, really, really rare compared to not sealed. And this thing was like sealed, removed, brand new, like never played, 100% complete reg card poster and all that. I got like $330 for it, just because it's like mint, man, like truly mint. And some collector was like, yep.
It's really not even that hard to understand or like that surprising. Because my reasoning, I'm thinking to myself now, like, I wonder. Follow me now. I wonder what percentile, in terms of condition, which percentile does it lie? I mean, I don't know if I'm wording this well, but like, is it in the 99th percentile of all copies that were produced of that first print, which was the
clamshell variant.
Genesis full color manual? Just everything about it too. The circuit board is higher quality.
Yeah, it is.
The
It's
label,
completely different board.
So the insert, of course, is really clamshell. It's a nice, just how you want your.
That's how you want it. If you're going for the Majesco cardboard re-release, you're settling and don't settle.
So when you're in that 99th percentile and already, it's not a rare game at all. Like, that game had
especially loose card.
It's kind of circumstantially rare. I guess it's like it's held in a collection.
It's rare because people don't want to let it go because it's a great game.
Great game, yeah. And it's Castlevania. People need it in their Castlevania set. It's just a lot of reason to seek it out. A lot of reasons to not want to get rid of it. And when you got that copy that's in the 99th percentile, it's so easy to put yourself that much ahead of an average copy when it's in the 50th percentile.
And again, that's another thing. Like when I sold it, there were a lot of copies that were cheaper than what I was asking. But it's like, and you gotta understand, like the only reason that it sold is because of how nice it was. And if you're a new seller, you might see that and be like, "Oh, cool, Bloodlines is worth like 300." It's like, don't make that.
It's a good takeaway. Yes.
Too. I saw that a lot of times, like in the coin industry.
That's some seller abuse right there.
And you would see some of these newer coin dealers that would, and I mean they wouldn't survive very long because of those kind of mistakes, but they would just see like, an astronomical sale and go, "Oh, cool, that's the norm."
Yeah.
It's like there's reasons that went for a special price.
Yeah. Man. And again, that tends to be with kind of like the rule with sealed, kind of a similar idea there. It's Castlevania, very collectible.
Yep.
That's how charted values. Obviously, it's my one gripe with charted values is we're not factoring condition here. Are you serious?
Yeah, I would.
Could you imagine that service with coins, dude?
That's outrageous. I don't even go on price charting ever if I'm selling it. I never use it. If someone wants to use it to sell their stuff to me, I'm not gonna check it. I'm just gonna be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I tend to because
as long as I like how it looks.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody has a gorgeous, especially when it's cardboard based or something where it's like that price charting is averaging swamp cat copies, beat copies. It's like, somebody's telling me they're using price charting and they have gorgeous stuff. I'm in, especially if they're trading and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and again, I mean, it comes to like, you got to know what you're doing with your stuff.
Like, if you want to collect more, because then you'll have more money to collect more stuff if you're smart about this stuff. And then just one last thing on charting, where I do find it very useful, where the data is great, is sales history.
Yep, sales per year.
Sales per year. Sales. Also, if you're kind of like just trying to gauge whether something's becoming more popular or something, you might notice that 3 times as many copies sold this last couple months than all of last year. Just stuff like that.
Could even kind of maybe hit you in on possible manipulation too. You see some really weird spiking, like on some of those stupid those rare sports games like that Madden '93 Genesis. Like, I know that game might have gotten played with by a few resellers.
Yep. Yeah, have you ever seen price charting?
Color Dinosaurs is a great example. That game exploded out of nowhere one day.
On NES, yeah. Price charting would show if somebody ever in one day bought 20 copies of a game or something. It would show up there. So that's where charting data is good. Conditional rarity. We gotta steamroll these last few. There's a lot of them. Conditional rarity definitely applies to made in Mexico exclusives on SNES.
Nintendo,
or just about anything that's like N64 is
all N64 cards are the same label style.
Yeah, man. And okay, I kind of forgot to preface this entire conversation is man, you find as dealers, we find a lot of collectors are very condition picky, and they want very nice. And I think oftentimes it comes from like maybe having standards of Wata 9. Maybe Wata 9's what their flavor is. That's what they're totally satisfied with Wata 9's until they get themselves a Wata 9.9, and now they want to upgrade everything. Now they start becoming a connoisseur. They start developing a taste for just cherry condition. I mean, we're talking about down to like they will pass on. They'll say they're a CIB guy, and they look at the corners of boxes.
Oh my!
Yeah. And like
getting crushed in.
I don't know, man. It's
got
some of that ink's gone there in the corner there.
Metallic. Yeah.
I don't know about that's not up to snuff for me. So we meet those kinds of people that are that anal.
I mean, some of I know you can relate to this, but some of the eBay messages that I've gotten are unbelievable.
What do you mean?
Like on the OCD level, it's like I
get
it.
Yeah.
But like I have people that
pictures and stuff like that.
They'll be like, "Are there any micro scratches on the disc?" It's like, yeah, of course there are. I mean, like I'm not gonna let you entrap me into saying that. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
perfect. No, it's
That
not
always
perfect.
that's always very concerning.
Yeah, and those sellers or those buyers are. I mean, oftentimes like they're your problem buyers.
As a seller, always avoid words like perfect. Always
Yeah.
avoid words like
even words
mint.
like even mint. Yeah,
Mint, because that's is ambiguous the right word? That's a relative statement for sure. Relative.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my mint might be different than
Subjective.
Chris's. So, oh, there you go, Mr. Fucking Brains, Mr. School Guy. Yeah, I mean, Mexican labels.
Mexican labels.
But yeah, Mexican labels are just easier to f up.
Yeah, there's just no protection on them.
You kiss it too hard and it's gonna leave lip prints on it.
Even thumbprints, like if you got greasy fingers, man, that thumbprint is gonna stay on there.
Yeah,
I've seen that on cars before.
They are crap quality, so but again though, it's like I embrace it as a.
I mean, I kind of like that though.
Yeah,
I like that as a dealer because it's like then when you get one really nice, it's like you got something special.
Makes you appreciate it more. It makes the hunt. It kind of adds a layer to the hunt. You know, it's like you finding snowboard kits too on N64 is difficult enough as it is, but like when you're a conditional snob, it can add a layer of difficulty. You know, some people like their video games.
Everyone likes challenge in life.
Well, some people don't. Some people like easy mode when they're playing a video game. Some people embrace mania mode. You know, so get your maniac collectors out there.
I think a good, and it might be next on the list, but going off of from main Mexico labels is back to the kind of with the rental exclusives. Also, it's finding games without like stickers over them, rental stickers, and especially like with N64, you saw so many of those property of Blockbuster stickers.
Let's get into rental. Let's get right into rental. So I'm kind of, but that is a talking point. With rental exclusives, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. Some games, I'm sure it's a Blockbuster marketing thing, but you know, you can only get this game exclusively at Blockbuster. So, big one that comes to mind for most people would be Sculptor's Cut.
Final Fight Guy on SNES.
That one's hard to think of SNES games that are rental.
And that one's really nice because I mean it says it on the box.
Yeah, it's like an odd looking box for Super Nintendo.
Yeah, all orange.
So those games are going to be inherently. Let's talk manuals first. Manuals are going to be the rarest component of a rental exclusive game. If it had a manual, of course, Final Fight Guy has a manual.
Yep.
That one may be a weird exclusion to this rule.
Yeah, weird exception.
But yeah, especially for the 64 Blockbuster exclusive games, your manual,
especially Sculptor's Cut.
For those that may be younger that don't remember the days of renting games at Blockbuster, but a lot of times in the first couple of days that the game came out, the manual's there. It's gone after a few days.
Or
after a few rentals.
If it remains, gone. A lot of times I see a lot of manuals that are like they'll get the pages taped like as a protective layer.
Every Blockbuster is different.
Stickers all over. You'll see really strange stuff. They'll staple the crap out of the spine.
BBV is a popular permanent marker.
BBV
and then a number, a store number.
Yeah. Marker. Cut UPCs off, stuff like that.
They'll cut the box and fit it in clamshells.
I've seen that too.
So that's my next topic so manual rarity. And actually, I'll name a few specifics like Sculptor's Cut manual. Just worth a ton, man.
I've seen one go to auction for unbelievable money.
Top of that, conditionally rare, of course. So it's like conditionally survived. It's like just having
to have one. Like, and that's an example of where people will start to settle. They'll be like, I need a manual. If it's got a sticker on it, you know what? So be it.
Yep. And I totally get those people that just look at this hobby and say this is all just so silly. You get all this money. What the, But like on the other side, I get it, man.
I get it.
It's kind of all relative to what other games are going for, what other games are worth, and the desire to full set something typically, or the desire to get a trophy piece that is going to invoke a little bit of jealousy in the collecting communities, and that's where a nice copy, complete in box of Sculptor's Cut is just holy shit.
It's a sense of accomplishment as well. I did it. I freaking found it.
The rarest game. Yeah, it's like the fact is, it's the rarest game. So if you're a passionate N64 hunter, like that's your trophy piece. There's no trophier piece out there. So rental boxes now, like when it comes to the manuals, it's just like survival rates.
Boxes, it's really like nice condition.
Boxes condition, yeah. Boxes like I feel like finding a mint box is rarer than finding a mint manual on these rental exclusives.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that a crazy statement, right?
That's true though. Yep.
It's like a minty sculptor's cut box. I'd put on par with a mint manual, even though in general, like that manual's that god component.
Yeah, at the worst condition, you're gonna see a manual go for more in the box.
Right. Yeah. For somebody that's like needs the component for the CIB status, a pretty nasty manual is definitely gonna go for more at auction than an equally nasty box.
And I'm glad you brought up earlier that topic of cut boxes. I forget how many of those I see, but
yep.
Oh man, yeah, that's a whole nother level of like. Honestly, it's like it basically doesn't even exist at that point. It's close to uncollectible.
Did you have the cut Hagane?
I still have it.
Oh, yeah, and you still have it. Okay, so I was gonna say, well, you mentioned
it's a weird exception though, because like it's so dumb to say this, but like it's a nice cut box. Like
I used to own it. I know.
You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, the clamshell
really
actually protected
it did
the box in a way where it's like just gorgeous, except for the three sides that are removed.
Yeah.
So your poor Hagane box.
But I mean, and think about it like this, because this happens in coin collecting. When you have something that's like unattainable, unaffordable condition and rarity. So for example, like Stadium Events cut box, be like that's gonna be worth something. Yeah. It might be worth a lot to certain people just because it's like, okay, wow, I have an affordable opportunity. I can throw this a clamshell of some kind.
Very true.
Yeah.
And imagine in that scenario, imagine there is like the rental store that cut the box, has a sticker on it. That starts to really appeal to somebody. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, that's somebody who likes that. It's got a little history there. Yeah. And to a lot of people, that's really cool. John Hancock, that's really cool.
Yeah. I personally, I'll be honest, I would recommend, just save that money for a nicer.
Yeah. As far as investment tip coming from
trust me from years and years in the coin market.
Yeah, don't settle for that kind of damage.
You don't want to settle for that.
Cut boxes. Yeah, just in general, cardboard box types is really where conditional rarity comes into play with complete in box, as opposed to case types where the artwork is protected under plastic. That could be a jewel case. That could be where the manual is your front art, and there's an insert for the back, and it's protected by plastic. Could be Sega Genesis clamshell stuff, Neo Geo clamshell. Could be DVD. So that's where like conditional rarity doesn't matter. I got a little example
DS
of that.
Even like those are never gonna be.
DS2, and then when you're talking about conditional, it's never conditionally rare, but like the condition. So in that case, and good point here would be like when you see that humidity waviness, that's a pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's a current beat.
And a lot of people just kind of pass it off, or maybe try to picture it on eBay in a certain angle. It doesn't really show that, but that will piss people off.
Yeah,
because it's so easy to upgrade it that when you get duped on eBay and you thought you were getting one that was nicer and it comes a wavy, like it's pretty upsetting.
At the same time, though, real quick, a little tangent here, talking about the inserts. Back when I was kind of looking at Neo Geo stuff a little bit, when I bought like the two pieces that I ended up getting, people will take, on those games, they're so expensive, they'll take the insert out and picture like the insert on
I think that's classic too.
And the big thing is like flip it over so that the white part of it, it's like you see waviness, you see staining, that's a huge thing. Yeah. And on others like DS especially, a lot of fake inserts, so you really give it that quick little look.
Yeah, I respect the seller that is willing to pull out that insert,
put it that
high-end piece, and show that non-printed side, because you can see the contours.
Non-printed side is huge.
So that's funny how details like this really matter, but it makes sense,
And it's kind of nice though, because it's a sign of a maturing market.
Yeah. People really care about that stuff now. Yeah, and just recently I had somebody tell me this. It wasn't this guy had Haunting Ground on PS2, pricey horror game now, and wasn't trying to trade it to me, but trying to trade it to a friend of mine. He's like, did make a deal on it because the guy wanted 200 for his Haunting Ground locally. I don't know if that's fair or not. I haven't been on top of that game, but he said that the guy was justifying his price because it was a mint copy, and that just
That sounds kind of outrageous for Haunting Ground.
Well, I mean, my point being that it was just annoying to hear him rave about the mintiness of a game that
is expected to be mint.
Exactly. Where I would say like that when somebody tells me what that game's going for complete, they're talking mint because that game's always in nice shape.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's really like an exception to the norm to be found in crappier conditions. So that kind of goes along with conditional rarity. When something just plain can be a relatively rare and a very pricey game like Haunting Ground, and there's no conditional rarity associated with Haunting Ground. It's just a expensive game.
I mean, look at like every rare DS game. It better be mint.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So that's always kind of tacky to me when I see somebody raving about the conditional thing, where it's like
outrageous.
The other thing isn't
cool. That's nothing to be rated on. Shouldn't be a selection.
You wanted me to write SMS, Sega Master System.
Yeah.
Just because you've been noticing that. I did talk about the rule of like, stuff where the artwork is protected in a case, but Sega Master System.
For some reason, there's really I've kind of been collecting it. It's been a nice, fun little hobby. It's pretty cheap.
It's super gung ho Sega Master System in the last couple months.
And I really have noticed one big thing. Manual retention is just really low rates for Master System. A lot of missing manuals. When they do have manuals, there's a pretty high percentage of, for some reason, just really those Master System manuals specifically. They really show just any kind of handling. You can really see the crinkles and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And even the inserts, like they just get nasty in general.
Yeah.
That's basically it. It's just kind of surprising. Like when you see a minty Master System game, again going for the whole additional rarity, it's like grab an example, man. Like don't be surprised, man. I mean, they'll bring a nice little premium. And on top of that,
just a certain kind of shimmer.
Yes.
Certain crispiness. Are these manuals gonna be nice in here?
Mostly. That's pretty nice.
Dude, that's a good example. There you go. That's an exception to the norm right there. It's real.
It's got that
real
tab. Nice, real quick little tip too. Master System. You can't swap Master System cases with Genesis cases. The manual holders are different heights here.
Are the cart holders the same though?
Cart holder is basically the same, but these tabs that hold your Master System manual,
that'll get in the way.
They're different.
That'll fold up your Jenny manual.
So finding these with non-cracked or ripped off plastic like shield or whatever, and with the hang tab, dude, gets conditional.
Yeah, that'd be and that's one of those things where it's like Master System is so cheap that like now's a great chance to be. You want to go hunting for Sega Master System stuff? Just go hunt for minty stuff on eBay that's priced the same as average.
Yep.
And that's the same as going out garage selling and finding a awesome deal. And in my opinion,
people are gonna naturally disrespect it.
Yep. Everyone feels like they got to go out price charting and like hard to get that stuff in real nice shape. So, that about does it. I think some of these other talking points we kind of covered, like, and this is just a point to recognize flimsy N64 and Game Boy Color boxes, and like some box types are gonna be really hard to find nice. So, namely 64, N64 compared to SNES and NES, that stuff is just thinner. It's easier. Blockbuster laminate free labels.
Yeah, without those property of Blockbuster stickers.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Especially on your rental exclusives, like obviously Sculptor's Cut, Beast Wars, even
Stunt Racer.
Yeah, Stunt Racer, Track and Field 2000. Indiana Jones is a hugely hard to get nice label.
Yeah, you'll just find them.
Everyone I see is completely right.
A lot of them have that clear Blockbuster laminate that went over the label that it's got Blockbuster written on it.
Yeah, or people have tried to remove them, and they always get
After your label up,
yeah.
and then so beyond that, it's like you got to find one where the Blockbuster never placed that laminate over, and also, holding it up to different angles of the light. You find that this label's gorgeous for a game like Beast Wars. And that's going to be a real special piece. Collectors will pay a premium because that guy that has a super high standards going for full set, and that's going to end up the last on his list.
And he wants a uniform quality.
Yeah, and of course he's going to get all the other, even the really pricey stuff. Byron Second Attack, that was a cakewalk from Get Nice.
Yeah,
it's going to be those damn rentals.
Yeah. Real quick little example story. I had a funny little score of this. A lot of people I don't think know this, but International Track and Field 2000 on N64. It turns out that's a confirmed Blockbuster exclusive. Konami published, and I found 10 of them at the flea market in box. Every single one of them had a property Blockbuster sticker on it on the cart. Which is crazy.
Could all come from the same.
Well, yeah, from the same Blockbuster.
But what a crappy Blockbuster to carry 10 copies of Track and Field back in the day. That would have made me.
That's a weird one.
That would have made me upset as a kid.
Oh yeah, I know. Not fun at all.
All right, so 100% CIB with proper inserts.
Yeah.
Reg
cards
is something that definitely becomes another conditional. We're gonna beat that word to a pulp. We do need to wrap this video up in about 10 minutes. See, we're at like 33 minute mark, so this is going on too long. But you'll find with a lot of titles, when they're already pretty collectible to begin with, your Castlevanias, you've had experience with Castlevania Bloodlines in this condition where it's got the reg card, it's got everything, every component, it's all really nice. And also Castlevania Dracula X on Super Nintendo. You were able to sell one for a record-setting complete in box price because it was just absolutely flawless. So that's something that can definitely be a factor where titles like Musha, it has a registration card with it. That registration card, I don't want to get into. Dude, we gotta not get into too much detail because I'm telling you, man. Warehouse Dave followers don't give a fuck about 90% of what we're talking about. Yeah. But when we get into too much detail, we gotta be kind of vague in general so that it's just good, useful knowledge. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So fuck Musha. But it's definitely appreciate your games that have those inserts that are typically missing. Mm-hmm. And if you're kind of newer to collecting, you'll start to see what I'm talking about. If you're intermediate, you already know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You've been around.
You'll even notice some games like the reg card will say the name of the game. Sometimes they won't. And
that becomes a bigger deal. Well, that's a good example where it's like some games. So there's a tip for like your Capcom Genesis games. You have the Punisher on Sega Genesis, and you don't have the Capcom registration card. You can harvest that from a Super Street Fighter.
Yeah, so it's the exact same registration card. No title of Punisher on the registration card.
Now it's funny how on the secondary market, is that what you call eBay? The secondary market. When you go to sell it on eBay, you just put in a white piece of paper from a Street Fighter game that's worth $20, and it just upped your Punisher by $50.
Yep. So someone will show that reg card's not unique either.
Not unique. So it's those are that's a collector tip for you right there too. If you go to sell your collection, you have the Punisher in Genesis. You have Super Street Fighter 2. There's a registration card in your Street Fighter, and there's not one in your Punisher.
You pull that thing out.
Fix that.
Yeah,
fix that. It's a mistake. Disc-based condition. I've done this in another video, but I want to grab the camera and show disc rot.
I got my flashlight if you want to hold it through.
Actually, let me just disc-based condition. I said you should have high standards. That's on all components of anything that's disc-based. You should have high standards for disc-based manuals. And I'm talking, when I say disc-based, I'm talking PS2, I'm talking PS1, I'm talking laser active, talking Saturn. Because all those components were protected by a case, you know?
Yeah, so they should be nice. Again, going back to that's the norm.
Right, yeah, so you get one that's mildewy.
Mildewy? Ooh, it's not
rental stickers on it. It's people.
Your disc's probably going to suck.
And that's another sign, too. I mean, it obviously was not kept well, and that means that disc likely took a beating, which you can go and check, and if it did, man, that's my next topic is disc condition. Talking about conditional rarity, what's interesting about disc condition is one of the few things in collecting that can be improved. But it's probably similar to coins where they say never clean a coin. I'm sure Wada is going to be like, don't resurface your games. We can tell. But like you can improve your disgusting looking PS1 game, may not even boot, and get it professionally resurfaced. It does such a good job of polishing and removing such a fine layer. That's all right. This is already fucked. But like you can improve condition on discs. But I want to tell you guys specifically which discs you got to be real careful on, because a lot of these resurfacing machines, due to the friction of polishing a disc, there's certain disc types that, I'm sorry, I worded that poorly. There's certain kinds of professional machines that cause a little bit too much heat for certain disc types to handle it. They get ruined. They immediately the data layer just starts to split. Disc rot emerges. Goes from being a functional disc with maybe a couple scratches on it to destroyed disc because you got to buff. So buffing needs to be done very carefully in short cycles sometimes. Sometimes you end your cycle early on your machine. Very good machine. I still wouldn't run a full cycle on it like automatic, an automated machine. Maybe just let it buff just for 10 seconds and then stop the machine. Let it cool off. Heat's what does it. Heat's really what does it, and also exposure to the elements where like you have a scratch that
just like an open wound,
Yeah, well, and changing temperature too. If it's garage kept, almost every disc base. I haven't named the consoles. It's basically Sega based. Sega CD, Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn. Also, Turbo Duo discs are very weak, very fragile. So it's kind of your early CD-ROMs out there are much more fragile than PS1, PS2. You guys all probably know like the 360 PS3 era. This PS3 Blu-rays are beasts compared to the 360, much softer plastic. So technology has been improving throughout time for optical media, for the quality of them. So the earlier, the more careful you got to be. You got to check for this kind of thing. I'm gonna hold the phone. Very simple to do. Hold your disc up to the light. See what I'm talking about? See right through it. That's where the audio cuts out. That's where the game freezes. That's where it's definitely not going to be a functional game. So that was disc wrap for you. Lastly, we're gonna close on this. Magazines, Nintendo Power 2.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
So, not much to really get into because it's kind of a bigger topic. Is magazine collecting. I'd like to maybe one day talk about what I think are the coolest video game mags out there. In terms of collecting, also in terms of personal opinion. So my personal opinion, also what I'm noticing other collectors asking me for a lot of times. I'll tell you right now, it's GamePro. GamePro is big as far as your non-console specific. Obviously, you got your PSM collectors. You got your official Dreamcast mag demand. Short set.
That's a really nice one.
Gotta have them. Yeah, like if you're a serious Dreamcast guy, what a cool set to have. Is all the official Dreamcast.
Next to your full set of Dreamcast.
They had an official Saturn magazine in America. That's cool shit. Dope. And there's so many Saturn. That magazine had so many exclusive advertisements, and that's nostalgic.
And stuff that never came out too.
That too, yeah.
That's another reason they're really cool.
it's a blast from the past, man. And like in a lot of ways, I enjoy the old magazines more than collecting the games.
Yeah.
Because like it's
I
easier
agree.
to 15 minutes. I could just have this
Big
like a drug.
Yep.
It's like a drug, man. You get blasted with nostalgia, man. Just 10 minutes, and every page bringing you back, making you think about old, thinking about Blockbuster, thinking about, man, I remember seeing that game. I never played it, and you can just have so much of a rush of the past in such a short amount of time. Flip through a magazine, so I think retro mag's really cool. But namely, like Conditional Rarity,
Nintendo Power #1.
Yeah,
That's a great example. Not really that. I mean, definitely not rare. They sent them all out for free. And then you could buy them too later. They printed it to where you could actually purchase it. But finding a mint one, oh my goodness! I mean,
wait, what'd you say about they did 2 print runs of it?
they did, yeah. There's
know
one
that.
that's actually got like a price like printed on it.
Interesting.
I heard about, yeah, when I did a little bit of research.
Interesting.
But if you can get that first print, and like mint condition, because I highly doubt they really packed. Who knows? Back then they probably just threw it right in an envelope and bam, that's how it got mailed to you.
Yeah.
Some of them, depending on your mailbox, probably got crushed before you even opened it.
Yeah, so you're right about that.
Getting a gem mint one, wow, that's something special.
I've never really messed around with in hobbies where like straight out of the package
it can already be damaged.
Right, but I'm aware of the concept. I know it's a big thing with like Magic. People open brand new card packs and stuff. Yeah. They immediately, as soon as they get a rare, they're like, yeah, they talk about how it's like, oh, it's a nice
centered.
cut. It's centered. I'm just like, your hobby sucks.
Yeah,
that's my takeaway. It's like, I'm sorry for you.
Yeah. It's a little bit like that in paper money grading too, like off-center print. It's like, come on. Yeah, but Nintendo Power #1, baby.
#1, and then #2 is one that's also a nice standout. It's kind of similarly. It seems like after that second issue, which is a really real gnarly, controversial Castlevania cover, where Dracula's holding like is it Dracula or that might be the Belmont guy holding? Yeah, I think he's holding Dracula's decapitated head.
Okay.
And so naturally, it's kind of he's got red eyes too. He's holding this head that's got red eyes.
Yep.
Very satanic.
Yeah.
My mom wouldn't have liked
Parents
that.
wouldn't have liked that. Mine wouldn't have either back in the day.
That was a very Christian valued American time, late '80s. So that was a controversial magazine, and to my understanding, a lot of retailers or magazine shops and newsstands pulled it or had to edit it or send them back. Wanted to refund the fund from Nintendo because they couldn't face them and couldn't sell them, kind of thing. So that's a cool magazine to look out for, especially nice shape, especially if you're Castlevania guys. And then maybe some other time
It's a great little subtopic to expand on.
Magazines, and I'd have to do homework.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
Pre-Nintendo Power, I think it was called Nintendo Fun Club News. It's a really small. It's like I think it's only like 4 or 14 magazines.
Interesting.
That's a really cool little set.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, paper media.
Fun to do.
Okay, so I can kind of end on this, and unless you got another thing to say, but because I've been doing this for so long and always buying, selling, trading with people. There's certain stuff that I prioritize, and there's certain stuff that I just put away for later. And for years, I've been like putting it away for later, and that's how I've been with looking over my right, because this is where I stash it over here. But I got tons of Nintendo Power magazines. Although I've had plenty of issue 1 and 2s, and they're all gone. Yeah. Imagine that, man. Collectors can't let me have that stuff. I mean, they gotta have it. But I've got a lot of stuff, so it'd be cool to do a magazine. But you and I would have to do our homework so we can deliver on good education. And then I got a lot of examples out here.
And that's something too. I feel like, again, I mean, even though we are dealers, like, it's not like we don't collect stuff, and that's kind of the stuff where I get at the point where it's like, I collected the game, so that's fun. But like, dude, a set of Nintendo Power early ones, that'd be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind getting myself a Nintendo Power #1 at some point. And
it's cool that they have that like era. They have like sets that you can go for. Like there's the NES era, and then like they change magazine style types, so that it's easier to kind of break it down into sets. Obviously, going full set Nintendo Power is a very committed thing. It's gonna take space and stuff, but that's cool too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do smaller sets too. The other thing is, I actually wrote this down. I almost forgot to mention it, but like something I've noticed with Nintendo Power Magazine on the topic of conditional rarity is, yeah, that's a good point. I actually didn't even think about that. Inclusion of posters.
Any of those perforatable mail-in type of cards.
Yes.
Scratch off, scratches.
Pokemon card that was in that one issue that makes the magazine worth a ton more.
Yeah.
So when they have inclusions, you know, or when it comes to like PSM, PlayStation Magazine, Xbox Magazine, a lot of those had demo discs and stuff when they were sold at the newsstands and stuff. So that kind of stuff can definitely add value. For some people, that's a deal breaker. They got to have it with it. For a lot of people, it's like that. Something I've noticed about Nintendo Power values on the non-issue 1, issue 2 stuff. A lot of values correlate with the badassery of the front cover art.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
And of course, that goes along with condition. They want it to be a nice Turtles in Time cover, Ninja Turtles, nice Zelda, nice.
Another great example
cover art
is that like all metallic Mega Man cover for
that was one
I
wanted to mention that too. I didn't write it down, but I was trying to think of some examples of key issues.
A really good example of like if that thing's messed up, man.
Yeah, the Mega Man X special edition cover, the special cover. I feel like that one probably wasn't the one that was distributed in mails. It's probably you had to buy that one. I'm guessing.
I think so.
And it's cool. It's all silver and it's like engraved. I don't know what the term
is. It's a weird little stencil looking kind of thing. It's also way too cheap. It's like practically worthless.
Yeah, it's about as much as a typical quality Nintendo Power Magazine, which is like $15. And so there's a good takeaway for at the end of this video is like for the nostalgia factor, and you just don't find this stuff locally. You can hunt, you can go to flea markets, garage sale, you don't find Nintendo Power stuff.
And a lot of them got thrown away or really red.
So for the price that it's costing right now, like that's something I suggest people
get. A little area, and again, it's also got bleed in from comic book collecting.
You know Wada's gonna F with it.
Well, Wada can try to F with it, but luckily we have like CGC, which is like one of the NGC, like part of the mother brand, and they grade comics, like $1 million comics and stuff. And they grade like Nintendo Power #1, so they grade all that.
That was gonna be my first question. I was like, have they graded?
They started doing it, yeah. They even started grading Fun Club News and Nintendo. And cool. I've seen issue 1s in like really high grade. I've seen them go over $1,000 at auction.
Of Nintendo Power.
Yeah, Nintendo Power #1. Not really. Not surprising either.
Yeah. And it's like
it makes perfect sense.
It's truly that rare.
And it really is. Yeah. The definition of conditional rarity, baby.
Yep.
There you go.
There's a closer.
Way to end it off.
End it! Good shit, man.